Hello everyone, welcome to the Unit 4 of Writing for Academic and Professional Success. This chapter is called Elements of Writing. Welcome to Lesson 1. In this chapter, let us study various strategies, various methods used for developing your paper or your assignment or essay. So, how can we decide the strategy or method used for writing an assignment or essay or a paper? We can decide the strategy based on three factors: nature, purpose, and length of your assignment. See, by nature we mean what is the character of the essay. Or is it an essay asking personal matters of the writer? Or is it a pure academic essay based on the chapter you studied, etc.? And regarding the purpose of the essay, is it given as an assignment? Or is it a competition essay? Or is it an essay to test your language skills or your knowledge? Length of the essay or assignment, you know what is the length of it. So it is based on, if you understand these three elements, you can prepare a good assignment paper or essay. You can decide upon what strategy or what method can be used for writing your paper. So these three elements are important, that is the nature, purpose, and length of your assignment. Then only you will be able to decide the strategy for writing it. So some strategies are description, then narration, argument, comparison and contrasting, cause and effect, etc. So we will be discussing in detail about what is description, what is narration, what is argument, comparison, contrast, cause and effect, etc. These are called rhetorical styles. Rhetorical styles. Remember the word rhetorical. What do you mean by rhetoric and rhetorical? Rhetoric and rhetorical refer to the strategies we adopt to communicate effectively to your audience. So when you communicate with the audience, you should do it effectively. In order to do it effectively, we use some strategies. These strategies are called rhetorical mode or rhetorical style. So just imagine that you are speaking to a crowd. In order to make your speech effective, you should follow the techniques to convince your arguments to the audience. This is true in case of writing as well. So rhetorical styles used for writing academic assignments. So these are some rhetorical styles used for writing academic assignments, that is discussion, persuasion and arguments, comparison and contrasting, cause and effect, defining, classifying, etc. So we will be discussing in detail about all these rhetorical styles. Then some rhetorical styles used for creative writing are narration and description. So now let us move on to examine some of them in detail. Now let us examine narration in detail. What is narration? Narration is a rhetorical style which can be used for telling or writing about a sequence of events, thoughts, or ideas. So we use narration in order to tell or write or narrate about a sequence of events, thoughts, or ideas. So narratives can be two types: fictional narrative and non-fictional narrative. Fictional narratives are stories, novels, etc., and non-fictional narratives are not imaginative uh, ones, but are supposed to be real real ones. So you might have read a lot of novels, stories, etc. They are fictional narratives. Newspaper reports, articles in magazines, etc. are non-fictional narratives. You can see here an example of a fictional narrative, Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. It is an imaginative work. Then here is a newspaper cutting. This is based on real facts, so it is a non-fictional narrative. So some explanation of narrative by Tara McCarthy. Listen to what Tara McCarthy tells about narrative writing. A narrative tells a story. Telling stories aloud is the oldest form of human discourse, human interaction. So in oral storytelling, details are not important. Story can be told without much order and pattern. You are familiar with the oral narratives, people sitting together and telling stories. So when you tell stories like that, the details are not important. You can tamper with the order of happening. However, in written communication, the order of telling, the sequencing is very important. It should be given in an organized way. So that was the opinion given by Tara McCarthy on narrative. So here some examples of fictional narratives are short story, novella, novel, folklore, oral stories, etc. Novella is something in between novel and short story. It is longer than a short story and shorter than a novel. And some examples of non-fictional narratives are autobiography, biography, news report, newspaper essay, historical writings, accounts, retelling of incidents, testimonies, confessions, etc. So in a narrative writing, in a story or in a novel, you can see plot. Plot means events told in a sequential order. Plot, events told in a sequential order. Then setting, the locale or location where the story takes place. Setting. Characters, people in the narrative, the hero, the villain, and many other characters. All these are people in the narrative. Then conflict. Conflict is the problem to be solved during the story. There is an issue, there is a problem to be solved within the story. It is called conflict. Then resolution. Resolution is a climax or conclusion to the story. Now, then point of view, the perspective or the perspective of the narrative, whether the story is narrated as I am so and so, I went somewhere, that viewpoint, that perspective is called first person narrative. And then you, whether the story is told with you as the important, that is second person, or the third one, which is called third person, he or she, one of the most popular point of views. So these are the elements that you will see in a narrative writing, especially in a story or novel. And now we will discuss the guidelines for writing a narrative essay. Narratives can be made used of in writing your assignments as well. How can we use the narrative in order to write your assignments? How the principles of narrative can be applied to tackle the academic writing. Some academic essays need to be narrated in detail. Such essays are narrative essays. Using narrative mode will help you to develop the interest of the reader. The following guidelines will help you to write an academic essay in the narrative style. So let us see what are the guidelines to be followed in order to write a narrative essay. See the first one. A narrative essay may contain personal experience of the writer or some events. You can use I or first person to narrate personal experience. See, here I have given an example of first person. I must have been about 7 when my father left Porbandar for Rajkot to become a member of the Rajasthani court. So here is the I in it. So that is the first person narrative. See, he or she or third person can be used to narrative used to narrate events in an objective manner. See, example of third person narrative. When Gandhi was about 7, his father left Porbandar for Rajkot to become member of the Rajasthani court. So remember the first guideline. A narrative essay may contain personal experience of the writer or some events. You can use I or first person to narrate personal experience. He or she or third person can be used to narrate events in an objective manner. Then the opening paragraph is very important. With this paragraph, the writer should be able to grab the attention of the reader. It should include the thesis statement. Opening paragraph should also introduce the background or setting of the essay. So you might have learned about thesis statement. What is thesis statement? Thesis statement tells what the essay is about. It tells about the perspective of the writer. So this should be included in the opening paragraph, whether it is narrative essay or any type of essay. So this should also introduce the setting or background of the essay, just like a story. Then the essay should be divided into body paragraphs after the intro. It should be properly divided. Transition phrases can be used to show the transition from one paragraph to another. So the divisions between, see the structure of the essay: introduction, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, 3, then conclusion. So the difference between para 1 and para 2 and para 3 should be clearly delineated with transition phrases. Then a message of the essay should be clearly given in the concluding paragraph. The message or the idea that you are about to convey should be summed up in the concluding paragraph. Then the reader's interest should be maintained by arousing the curiosity of the reader. The reader's interest should be maintained by arousing the curiosity. Yes, Just like fiction, dialogues, description, and action can be included. Then description of places and things will help the reader to visualize. So just like a story, in a narrative essay you can describe the places and things, which will help the reader to visualize it. Then the conflicts and problems can be introduced to generate suspense, and they should be resolved in the last paragraph. So these are some of the guidelines that are given while writing a narrative essay. So when you observe, you can see that narrative essay make use of principles of writing narrative for writing essay. So principles of writing a story or a novel, how to apply these principles into writing an essay. That is what these guidelines are trying to provide. So in page number 42 of your textbook, you can see a list of topics suitable for narrative essays and examples. Please read the examples to understand the features of narrative essays. Now I will give you a sample narrative essay question from the textbook. Try to write an essay based on the following question, making use of the guidelines you learned right now. The question is, narrate the circumstances that led to your joining the degree course in MES Mampar College. So this is an example of a narrative essay question. So this question will give you an opportunity to describe or narrate in detail about your personal experience of deciding to join the degree course in your college. So this is an example of a narrative essay. So we will continue in the next class, and we are stopping here. Thank you.